I'm very, very excited to welcome Liaqat Rasul, who is an artist who originally comes from a fashion and textiles basic practice, but who has been embracing collage in more recent years in his work, in terms of providing a space for us to get away from the technology and the Zoom barriers that we've all been experiencing today. His work kind of embraces the materiality of our lives, our real world experience, and he describes making art as an act of hope. So I'm really excited to work alongside him and for us all to have that space now to just reflect and make our own work with him. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name's Liaqat. I'm just going to dive straight in. I'm just going to show you some pieces of. So basically, the way I work is I work on like 3 or 4 different things at once. So these are sort of like work in progress kind of pieces. I'll do it like this. So this is sort of an old shirt that doesn't fit me anymore. So I just thought, so what I've started to do is either before I take it to the charity shop, I always think about these fabrics and I think, okay, what can I do? Can I do something? So this old shirt, which I really like, this lined print, I've just PVA'd it onto cardboard, and then I've just added these sort of things onto the top. So that's just like, so what's really nice is you've got cardboard, you've got fabric, and then you've got paper. I find those textures really quite exciting together, even though it's quite subtle. And this one is another work in progress. So I think that was just like a piece of paper that I used as a background. So when I'm doing my felt tips, you know, when you've got like a piece of paper and then underneath it's got lots of markings. So I love keeping that. I can't throw it away. So these sort of like odd kind of markings that you see are just sort of from a history of like me doing some drawings. So I've added some tissue paper and I've glued the tissue paper and it's sort of crinkled up. I don't know if you can see that, sort of quite crinkly. And then what I quite like doing is when you have like the normal texture of a clean and sort of flat surface of a paper, and then you have like a tissue, when you travel your felt tip pen across it, it glides on the paper, but on the tissue you really have to be very slow and careful, and the ink starts bleeding, which is kind of nice, and it can be quite meditative if you're not in a rush. And then also there's little bits of fabric on here that I've noticed, and just little bits of like cardboard that I've just chopped up and I've just placed. So I'll revisit that piece again, and it will have more layers to it. So this is an example of the felt tip pen. And when I mean felt tip pens, I mean Sharpies, or they can be from the pound shop, or you never know which felt tip pen is going to react in a certain way. So it's good to have a mix of, you don't have to buy expensive felt tip pens at all. But I don't know if you can tell, but here that's the tissue bit. And then that's the, no, so that's the tissue as in napkin. Then the tissue paper is slightly different. And then I've got some like plastic sheeting that builders use, that kind of industrial. So that kind of texture is really lovely. And then I sort of like randomly just threw some paper on it and then glued it where it sits. And then, I mean, it took me forever to put these stripes on because you have to travel it along and all the different textures. But I'm I find that really exciting. And then this one is a whole load of post-it notes and then bits of instructions from headphones or something. Did I mention the post-it notes? Yes, sorry. So I created a whole square of the post-it notes. So you have to go back and you have to stick them because the sticky bit's not enough. And then the hole punch, the circles that come out of the hole punch. I don't know if you can see, but there's lots of really tiny kind of hole punches. And then there's also bits of wood. So sort of, and I think wood and paper is really nice together in small bits. And then this is how they get framed. Can you see that? And that's how sort of 3 months of work end up. And I'm really into these yellow kind of frames at the moment. So if I just do that as well. Anyway, so that's that. Right. So first of all, I thought we could just sit down and close our eyes for 2 minutes and put our hands on the table and just breathe in and then breathe out in your own pace. And then we can just sort of, for 2 minutes, let's just meditate and sort of shut our eyes. Right, we're just going to sort of very slowly open our eyes in your own time. Right, so I've just got lots of little bits of paper. I've got like a swing tag here and some instructions for something. So if you just collect whatever stuff, I've just pulled this out of like recycling. So it's kind of nice to have some normal paper and a bit of tissue or napkin or anything like that to vary the kind of the textures, so we can do the felt tip thing. I've got an envelope here. So I think like the next 30 seconds or 45 seconds, I think we can just grab some papers, and I think we should just start actually just tearing paper and just do it very slowly. You can do lines, or you can create a shape. And then if you could do it with a few different papers. I've got an envelope here that I'm just going to start tearing. And then you start, you know, these abstract shapes start appearing. So I've got a couple of receipts here. And now what we're going to do is, as an example, we're going to start scrunching paper. So we're just going to grab whatever paper is near you and just start scrunching, and then sort of open them out again. So maybe you do this not to everything, but like just to some, and then just let your hands sort of feel it as well. It's really nice. I mean, quite often when I'm making collages, I mean, I suffer from depression, so it's really useful for me. But also, I think it's really nice for the hands to do the talking, because everything in our lives is so sort of, you know, we're on phones or computers, or we're thinking about stuff, or we're worrying about stuff. It's actually really nice to sort of scrunch some paper and sort of, you know, it's really nice. I feel so much more relaxed. Even sort of like, this is like a paracetamol packet. So, you know, that's harder to scrunch, but it's kind of, it's really satisfying. It's kind of like, so that's really nice. Earlier on, I sort of was planning for the workshop, and I did all this sort of scrunching. And so this is an example here. Can you see it? So that's just like a receipt. And then what I've done is literally started to use the actual lines from the scrunching and drawing around them and creating stripes and shaded areas, and just being, you know, like this triangle has got like a pleat in it. You know, there's no, this is sort of another scrunched up piece of paper that's sort of that I've made very graphic looking, and it's really, I quite enjoy paper when it starts lifting up from the surface as well, and sort of almost like a landscape, I guess. And then this is just sort of I just folded some paper, and then I drew some lines on it, and then I cut across those lines, not following those lines. So this again is the other side of sort of a tablet packet. It's just a bit of, and then I've just attached a loop of paper and then glued it so that you can see it sort of, it sits above and it's creating a little bit of a shadow. It's just really nice. It's just sort of, it's sort of investigative. That's what I think. And it's sort of, you know, I think this is really lovely how it's just sort of, I mean, that was literally some scrunch up piece of paper in my pocket. So even your pocket can be creative. So so that's just to give you an idea. So let's just get some of these papers. You can still keep tearing if you want to. And then let's just create a little background of stuff. Try and maybe incorporate a little bit of tissue, napkin, so when we do the felt tip thing, it maybe will stop bleeding. You can go as fast or as slow as you want, whatever you want. And also you can, after my session, you can sort of, you can continue with it, or so maybe I'm going to pleat something. So even sort of pleating paper is just sort of it's really a lovely thing to do, and scoring paper and just doing it. It's a distraction from thinking, which is just so lovely. And you don't have to know what you're doing. You can just be doing all these little exercises. There's no judgment. There's no kind of, you don't have to sort of produce anything as a final piece. Like, for instance, these are just sort of small little, all of these are just small little islands of little things. And then, you know, that'll go on my wall, and then sort of a couple of months later, I'll look at them and I'll oh, maybe I want to investigate some of these, or maybe I want to follow through. But this initial idea was just let your subconscious just flow, let your hands do it and see what happens. This was a really fun thing that I did, which was just I had lots of leftover strips, and just sort of and it's really playful, and I just stuck a cable tie right in the middle of it, and that's just, you know, have a play with things and just sort of experience the card and the paper. It's just really nice. Right, so I've got, it's all a bit sort of muted, but stick some tape, and also sellotape is quite good for when we do the markings out later, because the felt tip, depending on the felt tip, will either take the sellotape, it'll go over it, or it'll just completely not work. But then there'll be something quite nice that happens in that sort of accidental sort of creation of something. And this is just lovely because it's the back of an envelope, because you've got a really nice graphic texture here. So maybe that pleated paper could just go in a little fan, maybe. Right, so I've got this. It's very naively put together. It's sort of an abstract shape, and it's some of it's pleated, some of it's scrunched, some of it's just, you know, it's just sort of there. So I just get my sort of ruler, and then get a couple of colors. Just pull them out of your thing. Don't even think about them. And then right, I'm just going to get that back again, so I don't mark the right. Okay, so I'm just going to very slowly start drawing across very slowly, because when you get these sort of crinkle ridges, they'll force you to stop, and maybe you can go over it. You spend more time over that bit. So over the brown paper, it's taking it less. I'm just going over it again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this brown bit here. I'm going to change color. Now I'm going to go right across in this different color, and I've picked a bit of napkin bit, so you can see what I mean about how it takes differently to the rest of the papers, and it bleeds a lot more and it soaks up a lot of ink. And then the bits with sellotape, the ink doesn't take at all. So that's also really lovely to sort of have that kind of, you know, suddenly a surface is evolving on your paper, and it's really nice. And I think just going quite slowly is really nice as well. It's really, right, I'm just going to sort of go around the bits of sellotape, like, so they become part of some sort of abstract pattern maybe. But you have to like catch the light so you can see the gloss of the sellotape. So it's like a little game. Right, so there we've got something there. Just gonna keep changing colors, keep the energy flowing. I'm just going to, so we can do some freehand. You can be quite sort of slapdash. And then by being sort of a lot more freer, the felt tip is sort of creating different textures. It's a lot more sort of fainter. Then I'm going to grab a biro and just go over the lines. What I really enjoy about biro is when you've got like a couple of layers of paper, it's really nice to just, you're almost scoring as you draw. And by just sort of outlining those sort of freer bits, it's kind of nice. Now I'm going to sort of go back to the scrunching thing and just randomly scrunch bits, and then maybe flatten that that pleated bit that we did earlier, and just not even thinking about too much, just start. Maybe it's the wrong color. Just start creating shapes that have been presented to you from either pleating or scrunching. And in fact, you can do this freehand. And so I often get told there's a cartography, study of maps, element to my work, because I always seem to like to create areas and then sort of and then draw lines, but they're always adjacent to each other, so they look like an overhead camera looking down. And then you could use biro and felt tip. You can use thick and thin. Allow yourself to sort of not have a system or any rules, and just sort of go over bits of paper that might seem tricky, but in actual fact, we're doing it really slowly, so you've got the time to to do it. So I'm going to go back to this bit here and haphazardly just follow the creases and see what shapes.
So, Liaqat, have you always used collage as part of your practice, or is it some, you know, is it something that you came to later on?
I sort of I think when I was doing fashion and when we were for my degree, we always had to do lots of mood board work and sort of lots of 2D work, and I sort of enjoyed it. I didn't really explore it as much as I'd like to, but after I liquidated my business, I worked in a pub for 5 years and then decided I needed to get away from everything and start from zero. And it was whilst I was at the pub, I started making collages, and then I was going to see lots of art shows. And I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to run with this and I'll see what happens. And that was 4 years ago. And it's sort of, yeah. I mean, what's really nice is sort of making, I've really enjoyed making these sort of mobile collage faces. So I think this was sort of,
They're amazing.
yeah, I kind of wanted to challenge the whole art of collage, and I like this idea of movement. So those collage faces are actually they've created their own energy, and there's a possibility of some public art to be made with the collage faces, and quite big, maybe like 4 meters tall or something.
And what kind of materials would you be using?
So it would be the same sort of vibe as the collage, but what we would do is do quite a lot of research into using detritus and sort of like stuff that's been abandoned, going to you know, stuff that's trash maybe, but metal, but heavier and thicker. Sort of, we'd have to do have to work with an engineer and get it all weatherproofed. That's the only thing. But that's really exciting. So it's sort of, yeah, it's opened quite a lot of different chapters all on its own, and it's been really nice.
Do you use it in a kind of cathartic way yourself? So when you're kind of doodling and making and folding?
Yeah. Oh, completely. Like I'm having so much fun. I'm just like, I'm really, and also I meditate twice a day. So I kind of, what I do is as soon as I get to the studio, I meditate, and I have to like really try so hard not to look at any emails. I just don't want to look at them. Just don't want to look at my phone, don't look at my emails. I don't even have like a phone timer. I've got one of these, like an analog timer. Can you see that? So that's really nice. So, and then when I go ahead, I don't look at my phone.
The whole time you're in the studio?
No, I look
just for that time
in the studio during the day, but when I'm meditating,
oh right,
the first
yeah,
thing I do is meditate. because otherwise emails can just like, you know, emails can be checked whenever, can't they, really?
Yeah, and they can derail you, can't they?
They completely derail you. Like everybody, you know, talks about, my friends always talk about my godchildren and their relationship with tech. And I'm like, hang on, guys. I think us adults have also got a problem. And sometimes if I've got like a couple of exhibitions I want to go and see, I'll leave my phone at home. And it's so nice to do that. And just sit on the bus and just sort of, you know, just daydream.
Yeah. I think we're scared to kind of have that time for ourselves, aren't we? For daydreaming and doodling and playing and
like, but our attachments to our phones is like, you know, there was an advert on TV, and then there was an advert of a family in their living room, and as soon as the adverts are on, they're all on their phones. But that's what we all do, don't we? We're all on our phones.
Yeah.
The reason I fell over in Soho and
because you were on your phone.
And I was rushing, you know, sort of. But I also think there's a really nice thing of just using papers that are available to you, sellotape and felt tips. I love the sort of the low tech aspect. Like I could be doing this with a group of 3-year-olds, or I could do this with a group of pensioners. Do you know what I mean? There's a real sense of democracy about this kind of collage making.
Yeah, and I think about the skills involved as well. You know, you're not asking anybody to draw anything, which immediately sets up a barrier quite often, doesn't it?
Yeah, and also, yeah, I think not having an end game is really nice. Not having like a narrative maybe, or a, you know, I think exploring is really important. And also you can be doing this and it could be a way of problem solving with a stressful thing at work, or you could come home and you just feel like, you know, you've had like a tough sort of commute home or something. But it is about creating new habits as well, because I think that we don't sort of relax in the way that we used to, I don't think. And also, if you make mistakes, you can just add a bit of paper and pretend it's your Tipp-Ex or something. Just go over it.
Yeah, it's quite a forgiving
yes
way of working. I'm finding.
But I tell you what, I did this today as well, which I just think is really nice, and that was just going through which of my felt tips worked and which ones didn't. But it's created a really lovely design, I thought. You know, they could possibly be a nice Christmas card idea, or maybe a Christmas tag for a present, or the actual present.
I'm not going to respond to that, but I'm glad I'm not one of your friends. There was something I caught part of on the radio the other day, that it was something to do with when you need to test a pen out in the shop. What do you do? What do you write, or what do you draw?
Yeah.
And I suspect, showing what you've just shown now, you probably do something very lovely, whereas most of us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually check out pens because I'm such a stationery freak. I'm too excited. I just have to grab and buy. But besides, I don't really use sort of like fine pens, and I'm not interested in all those kind of like really dainty things. And maybe I buy so much I know what they're going to be like. But it's always really nice to see those sort of pads that have been worked on by different people.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the chewing gum guy?
No.
So there's a guy in London. He's called the Chewing Gum Guy, and he creates absolute beautiful artworks on chewing gum with paint, little paint. He works in all weathers, and so basically, because it's chewing gum, it's not illegal. So he's not defacing anything.
Oh my God.
It's
And
like
he leaves them in public spaces.
so they're all over like the wonky bridge at the wobbly bridge at Tate. It's not wobbly anymore, but it used to be.
Yeah.
But you'll see them all around London. Like they're really small because they're on chewing gum. I met him in a pub in Highgate once. I was a bit tipsy.
So he's not kind of anonymous.
No, so if you Instagram him, and you'll see all the beautiful art. It's incredible. Like he uses fine paint brushes. Like I use felt tips, but he uses paint brushes. And I've seen him paint in the rain as well. So you know, that's what I mean about finding your own language. You never know where it might just lead by even, you know, I was in a pub, working in a pub, feeling sorry for myself and not knowing what to do with my life. And then suddenly you think, oh, hang on, maybe I can do this. So I'm just cutting sort of, I'm just folding a bit of paper, and I'm just trying to cut these very fine, not all the way to the end, but just towards the fold. I've just created that star shape whilst I was chatting to you, without even sort of. And then you just get your paper. So you've got two lots of, and then if you just tweeze it in the middle, it'll start. In fact, I've folded it over and just tweezed it round, and it's sort of created a little star. So that can go on here, and then that sort of is kind of nice because it's sort of, again, it's lifting off the paper, which is quite lovely. I think it's really nice to have a collage in a box frame, so it's like an inch or two, and then you can see it sort of, you know, I have a problem with things that are completely flat. I just think it's nicer if there's like a sense of depth. I think it's just much more interesting to look at. So I'm going to do some more of these stars, I think. This is going to be my little new thing. Oh, I've done it the wrong way around. Okay. Oh, have I? No, I haven't. Okay. So again, and then just keep folding and sort of get the middle of that card or paper just a little bit soft, so then you can just, so you fold it sort of at 45 degrees or 90 degrees to create that sort of shape. I tell you what I thought about the other day, which I think is really nice. Do you remember when we used to make chains all the time for Christmas?
Yes.
That would be a really nice thing to do, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I used to do loads of that with my kids.
I know.
And pom-poms, tissue paper pom-poms.
But I would love to make loads of chains. I mean, I probably use a stapler. I'm probably not going to use, but that's also a nice thing to do. If you did want to do something that was orientated towards a final thing, you know, you could use that instead of tinsel on your Christmas tree. And also, I'm just going to tie this one here. So you can even tie the paper. You don't even have to use a stapler. So these are skinnier bits of paper, but I mean, it's fine. It's kind of nice. You know, I think that's kind of really beautiful as well. I just think it's really sweet. Maybe I'll just flatten that a little bit. It's funny watching myself flatten it. Okay. So I think that's really lovely, actually. That just sort of, you know, I could start drawing around this.
It's a very intuitive way of working.
Yeah. I think there must be something about drawing lines that's really quite nice. There must be some sort of science. And also, it doesn't matter if you wobble. And then if you also want to go I think what's really nice, I once did a workshop at the Crafts Council, and this guy saw the ad outside, and he just sort of came in, and he worked in Canary Wharf, so he worked in the city.
Yeah.
And he sort of he never used any felt tip pens before.
He'd never used felt tip pens.
No, he just didn't do art at school. So, but I had to do a project on rewilding. So I did a template of a beaver, and then you had to felt tip it in whatever way you wanted. And he went off and bought some felt tips after that session.
Inspired him. When I was a little girl, that used to be my favourite thing, was putting all the felt tips back in the right colours, so that it
Yes. Yeah.
I'd have like a bit every Christmas. I'd get a big pack of 50 felt tips or something.
Yeah. I know, I'm trying to think when Sharpies arrived, because now we just take them for granted, don't we? But I don't know what we had when we were children. But I really like coloured pencils. I remember like coloured pencils being really exciting as well. And again, the pencils are really nice way because it indents the paper as well, and sort of so maybe we can tear bits of stuff here and just place it.
I think we're just about coming to the end of our time now, which I can't believe because I'm so totally immersed in what I'm making now.
Has it really come up to that time?
Yeah, 45 minutes.
God,
It's
wow.
flown by.
So that's kind of nice, just sort of a little bit. So that's kind of, I've just done something I never even, that was just from talking about
Paper chains.
paper chains. I think I prefer that to the original thing I did. Actually, it looks a bit like a bird, doesn't it?
It does. I was thinking it started off looking like a flower, and
I absolutely didn't have no, oh my God, I had no sort of end. A paper chain bird, that's what we've made.
chain bird.
But I'm really pleased with that as well. I think that's just nice. I really like sort of shapes that are not square as well. I think that's really, Diane, look, that's
I will
great.
be sharing.
Yes, do share.
I think mine might fall apart.
Oh, that's gorgeous. I love the pink triangle.